Hello and welcome to OROMIA11 Youth Program. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting with Naima, a dedicated educator who brings passion and insight to the classroom. With 2 years of experience in teaching, Naima is here with me to share her journey, challenge, and valuable advice for the parents and educator. To hear what Naima has to offer, stay tuned on OROMIA11 Youth Discussion. Welcome to OROMIA11, Naima.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So you are a teacher. What do you teach?
I teach first grade, so that's in elementary school. I teach all subjects. I teach math, reading, science, social studies, and writing.
Especially for the young students, teachers are basically the second parents. How do you handle being around so many students?
I mean, I feel like they're all my children, but I mean, it's pretty much manageable. I mean, I'm also an oldest, and so I'm around kids around all the time. I watch my cousins, so it's tolerable. I mean, it's definitely a lot because you're watching a lot of like 6 and 7-year-olds. So there's a lot of like you just have to have like your attention on them. But I mean, it's pretty manageable.
So you never had any mental breakdown because of
I
that?
mean, there's moments where I cry when they're crying. You know, like they'll have something's wrong with them. I'm like, why are you crying now? I'm crying. You know, like we have those little moments with each other. But uh, I definitely feel like I'm meant to be in that position. So I'm like, they're like second mom. The kids have called me mom before. So I'm definitely just used to being their second parent.
That's interesting. Out of all the subjects that you teach, what subjects are your favorite and why is that?
Out of all my subjects, I definitely love reading the most and writing. I mean, I think reading is crucial. I think everyone knows that. Like, we love to read. Reading is every part of your life skill. So I definitely think at a young age it's really important for kids to learn. So that's one of my favorites. And then I also love writing because I also love to write, and I think it's a word, it's a way of expression of language. So those are two of my favorite subjects.
Drawing from your experience, what are some areas that you believe parents need to work on to support their kids effectively?
Um, I mean, making sure that you're checking in with your child when homework is being sent home. You know, homework is meant to be review of what kids learn in class, right? So if they're coming home and, you know, it's something that's too easy for them, right? Like maybe your kid needs a challenge. If it's too hard for them, like, oh, maybe what are they lacking and how can we help them so they're understanding what they're learning in the classroom? And I think that could be a really key detail because when a teacher has what, maybe 25 kids in a class, right, it's hard to really know what every kid is struggling with, right? So that homework piece, that component can help parents know and teachers know, oh, this is what my kid's struggling with, and it can help them.
Okay, as a teacher, I have to ask, how many assignments do you give per day?
I mean, I teach first graders, so for me, I only give like maybe 5, 6 assignments. It's not a lot when you think about it because it'd be like worksheets of like coloring and just like writing sentences and like putting sounds together. So it's not a lot in retrospect. But I mean, hearing 5 and 6 worksheets for a first grader is a little crazy, but once you see it, it's not that bad.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it has a lot of value for the kids' education.
Yes.
They learn from doing
Yes,
assignments
of
too.
course, yeah.
Can you share a significant experience from your teaching journey, highlighting its reward and challenges?
Yes, definitely. So, there's some kids that I've worked with that are, you know, kind of like below grade level, right? You can recognize it, you can see the signs that it's really struggling. So when teachers work small groups, right, where you know you finish the whole lesson and then now you're pulling the little kids with you to like work on the table spots, you're kind of like honing down one-on-one on what are they struggling with. And I love to see when that kid finally gets it. Like it just clicks for them, like, oh my God, I got it. And it's like that is so rewarding because, you know, every kid maybe has a different teaching style and maybe that student excels in a smaller group than like a whole group setting. And being able to provide that for them and seeing that it clicks for them, like it just means a lot. There is some, you know, other challenges as well where it's like, you know, there's kids who come with maybe learning disabilities, right? Or they're coming with something that maybe it's not diagnosed, right? And so it's like it's really hard to see when, you know, they're not getting assignments or they're struggling or they don't participate in class that there could be something else. And not all the time the signs are clear. So that's also some of the challenges as teachers face.
And how do you work around that, especially the learning disability?
Yeah, so I mean, some ways to work around that is trying to ask parents, right, in the most sensitive way, like, do you see this at home? What are some, things have you seen? Maybe have you went to a doctor, right? Because kids usually get doctor checkups yearly and stuff like that, and they check for those kind of things. Um, and sometimes parents take that in a negative way because they're thinking that, oh, there's something wrong with my child. My teacher's trying to say something wrong with my child. It's like, it's not that. It's just that, some kids have hard to read. Some kids maybe have dyslexia, or some kids have ADHD, and these things can affect their learnability, right? Staying focused in class, or maybe even asking for help, right? It's so hard for them because they even themselves feel like there's something wrong with me, right? So how do we help, right? Trying to see the signs and having honest conversations with parents, and even asking your child, is this hard for you, right? And if it's so, how? Because kids will tell you, right? But they just need someone to listen to them. So.
That is true. Could you please shed a light on the stigma surrounding around the educators, especially concerning the issue like underpayment and lack of resources? And how do you navigate around those challenges?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone knows, right? Teachers definitely do get underpaid. And a lot of teachers don't really go into the work for the money, right? You want to go into the work because you see the value and like what it is to be an educator, to see when a kid understands something, right? And that's what I do. Like I know I don't get paid as much as doctors or nurses and stuff like that, but I know the value I bring because my students will one day be doctors or nurses, right? Or engineers or firemen or something like that, right? Because I am what helps kids be what they want to be in the world. And I think that's what's important. That's that passion and that drive that keeps me going in every single day. It's not about the paycheck, right? And so with that, right, there's the lack of resources, of course. There's a teacher shortage. There's not enough teachers in schools, right? And with that, how do we work together, right? Teachers help each other. Some teachers have something that you might need, right? And there's a lot of resources online with teachers who are willing to just give their resources to you for free. Like, these are the slides that I use. These are the kind of things I help for kids who are struggling in this. These are the type of assignments I give to students who are excelling, right? It's really a beautiful community working with these type of teachers because they just want everyone to educate, and they want all these educators to help kids grow. There's no selfish benefits for it.
Being a Black woman, Muslim, and Oromo educator, how do you relate to your students, and what unique perspective do you bring to the classroom?
Yes, I definitely love being the only Muslim teacher, the only Black teacher, right? I know what that brings because I was once a kid in the classroom. And growing up in a suburban school, I didn't see Black teachers. I didn't see teachers that had hijabs on, right? Like, out of all my years of schooling, I've only seen 2 Black teachers. I have not even once seen a Muslim teacher. And to even see Black women teachers, I've only seen 1, like, out of all my years of schooling. So I know what that means when I step into a classroom and there's another kid that looks just like me, and they're like, oh my God, you're like me. And like, that's just so heartwarming because they maybe not believe that there's teachers that could be Muslim, there's teachers that could be Black, there's teachers that could be women of color, right? Because the teaching industry is mostly white women dominated. So it's definitely a good feeling. I definitely feel special, and I hope that I inspire kids in the classroom, outside the classroom, kids who want to be teachers because they see someone like me.
Yes, also a good way for kids to learn about their identity, to go home and ask about,
Yeah.
okay, mom, tell me something about me. So
Yeah.
it's a good way. So yeah, thanks for that. Considering your background and expertise, what advice do you have for aspiring educators, especially those from underrepresented communities?
Yeah, I would say go teach. If you want to be a teacher in any type of field, rather it's classroom teacher, ELL, if you want to work with special needs, if you want to be maybe a social studies teacher, whatever kind of teacher you want to be, go be a teacher. Because teachers, again, are the most valuable people in the industry. Like, being a teacher means everything. Like, we are not who we are without teachers. So if you want to be a teacher, go be a teacher. You can even do something part-time if you want, or something like long-term. You could do something online. You could teach all around the world. Teachers are so valued, and I think if you want to be one, don't allow the stigma of what you see in the industry, the stigma of underpayment, lack of resources, anything like that stop you from becoming a teacher, because that doesn't mean nothing when you see the kids learning from you.
As a student, we think teaching is easy. For example, I complain a lot about my professors. Is teaching easy? How do you prepare for a class?
Teaching is not easy, right? Every day you're coming in, making sure that you have what you need to teach ready, right? Making sure the kids have what they need to be successful in the classroom. I'm making extra copies at the printer, right? And I'm always forgetting something, right? When I'm teaching, I'm always forgetting something. So it's like, I always try to be over-prepared, but sometimes I am under-prepared. So that's kind of like what that is, but it's definitely not easy.
So the lesson plan is not prepared for you by someone else?
No, it's definitely not. So the thing is, schools give us curriculum, right? So this is what you're teaching. This is the lessons that you need to get through by the end of the school year, right? That's all they give you. They're not giving you the lesson plans. They're not going to give you the worksheets. They're not going to give you any of that. You have to implement that in your school day, right? From making a lesson plan, like, okay, I'm going to teach this on this day. This is the worksheets that are going to complement it, right? This is the homework I'm going to send out, right? So that's the work that I have to do every single day. So it's a lot of work.
Yes, it does sound like a lot of work. But doing that, what do you enjoy? Something that you like about doing that?
I mean, I definitely enjoy like putting the videos together. So like, you know, they tell you what to do, right? They give you the curriculum, but you can do your own way, right? Because every student is different. Reading from a book for some students just doesn't work, right? So how can I implement it in the classroom that every kid can learn? Sometimes I open little videos, right? There's little videos that they watch that can help them be interactive, right? Or we'll do like a standing up activity, right? So maybe we'll play a game to introduce the lesson, right? So there is different ways that I introduce a lesson. So it's not just like reading off a book.
So, but once you create that lesson plan, you can use it for over so many years.
Right? Yes, of course. Like, you know, it's first making it, it's what's really hard, right? Because then you always got to tweak it, making sure that it works for some kids, that some kids maybe need a different way. And then once you get that going, like, you know, you can keep using it. I mean, in a sense, we use the same thing every single year, but sometimes we tweak it to our own advantage to see, maybe we see some kids are not understanding this concept. Okay, so how can I teach it a different way? Maybe this lesson's too hard right now. Maybe I gotta bring that back and bring something else right here. So, it's like that.
How does the technology is currently like improving, it's changing every day. How does that affect your lesson plan?
I mean, we use technology in the classroom. You can't avoid it, right? Technology is everywhere ever since, you know, COVID happened, right? Kids now know how to use devices. So how do we make sure that kids are using it in an effective way, right? We finish lessons, and then there's iPad time where they're working on their iPads on reviewing what we just learned, and it's out of modern time. Like they're not just there for 4 hours, you know, using their iPad. It's maybe like 20 minutes, and then we move on to like the next thing. So I mean, using devices in class is very helpful because you can have some kids working on this, some other kids maybe working on some worksheets, and it's helpful.
Yeah, with the rise of digital devices and technologies, managing screen time has become very hard for the parents especially. How do you believe that parents should regulate and balance this time for their kids?
Yes, don't let your kids sleep with their iPads because kids do that a lot. And not only, you know, there's some psychological and physical benefits and disadvantages for kids that are using iPads. So what I would say to help regulate that is making sure that if they're going to use a device, make sure they're around you. So you know not only what they're doing, but how much time they're spending on it, right? On iPads, you can make a lock of like, this kid can only be on the iPad for this amount of minutes, and then it shuts down on them, right? So there's restrictions that can be used on iPads and devices to make sure that kids are not overextending their time on it. And also working with them. I mean, if you work with the kid, they're less likely to want to do something that they're not supposed to be doing on the iPad, or maybe even want to work on it because they don't want to work with you. So, I mean, there's some pros and cons on how to use the devices.
Okay, now moving on to after-school activities. Tutoring has been proven to be beneficial for so many students. And also outside of school hours, I heard you do tutoring. Could you discuss the personalized tutoring? How does that affect the students?
I definitely think tutoring is an important aspect to have in life, right? If you feel like your kid needs extra help outside of the classroom, right? Or maybe you just want them to stay focused, tutoring is there. Some schools offer after school programs, maybe for like 2 hours where kids can just stay after and work with either their teacher or another teacher on work, or there's tutoring centers all over the Twin metro area that kids can work at. I believe tutoring is beneficial as a teacher and someone who also tutors kids, is that it just only helps them improve, right? Because education is nonstop. So when kids are always learning, right, they're always improving what they're doing. Kids can always be better readers. Kids can always be good writers, right? You can't not like have something really high and then just be like, oh, well, I'm done here now. You can always be the better than that. You can always improve, right? And so tutoring helps you with that. When there's even like breaks, right, like spring break, summer break, stuff like that, right, it keeps that brain active and keep on like learning in the what they learn in the classroom outside of the classroom. If students are lacking things in the classroom, tutoring can help with that. If maybe students are missing the science or social studies, right, or they're not really understanding the concept in writing, right, a tutor facility can help with that. You let your tutor know, hey, I feel like my child is kind of lacking in these parts and I feel like, can you help them with that? A tutor is more than welcome to do that, because that's our job, right? We're here to help you excel from what you know to know even more. So I think tutoring is, if able to, right, because not every family can afford tutoring, it's something, if you can do it, take your children to tutoring.
We've been talking all about education. What are some of the advice that you can give for families who wants to engage in their kids' educational journey beyond checking their homework or grades?
Yeah, beyond checking on homework and grades, I definitely think come to conferences, right? A lot of parents maybe not might have the time or just feel like it's not necessary, and I definitely think it's necessary, especially if you have younger children. If you have kids from kindergarten up to 5th grade, definitely come to conferences, because not only conferences talk about grades, they talk about students' behavior. How well do they adapt in the classroom? What struggles do they see? Right? And you can build that relationship with your teacher, because that teacher is watching your kid 8 hours a day, right? So they take them from recess to lunch, and so they see them everywhere, right? From parent pickup to drop off. And so I definitely think, establishing that connection with your child's teacher is very important. Another thing that I feel like, if you can volunteer at your school, volunteer at your school. Not only are you seeing your child in different spaces, seeing them playing with other children, right? You can see how other children are behaving too, right? Because sometimes that you can see where your children is learning stuff, right? And it's not to say there's blame at schools and kids are acting a certain way. It's just that's their environment. That's where they are all the time. So you get to able to see what are they picking up, volunteering, right? Coming to their field trips, seeing you have fun with them is so important for a kid. A kid needs to see that you also find school enjoyable, that you think what they're learning is important, right? Because if you don't believe that, they're not going to believe that. So I definitely think when teachers and parents are working together to help your child improve in school, to enjoy their school, and to learn, I mean, all of that is going to help your child succeed in school.
Now coming back to you, reflecting on your path to becoming a teacher, what driving force or experience led you to pursue this profession?
Yeah, I mean, I always was like a teacher's pet. Like, I've always was like, let me help you, teacher, let me help you. I'm always just like up wanting to help my teachers. And from there, I just kind of knew that I wanted to be a teacher. In 3rd grade, I moved from the cities to the suburbs, and that was a huge life change for me. And there was that teacher there, my 3rd grade teacher, that really helped me like accumulate to this new environment, right? From moving from the cities to the suburbs, as most know, it's completely different. You don't see the same people. People do not act the same, right? And I was like the only black kid, like, and so I definitely felt like out of place, and that teacher made me feel special. And ever since that, I was like, I want to be a teacher. I want to make kids feel special, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they are, where they come from. And that's kind of what led me to want to be a teacher. And then through high school, I did student teaching. So I would like volunteer and do some hours at my old elementary school to watch kids and just like take care of them. I've also would do like after school programs. So I did do tutoring and reading programs with kids. So I just knew that I just wanted to be a teacher, and that was my passion.
In the future, is your plan to keep teaching, or what do you have in mind?
I don't know. I guess we'll see what is in store for me. I'm not really like super picky. I mean, I might change, things might change for me. Maybe I'll go and teach at a high school or a college, maybe be an adult teacher, or maybe do something small, lead my own school program or something like that. I don't know, but I definitely know that I want to teach. That's all I want to do.
Besides teaching and tutoring, what other things do you do?
Outside of the classroom, I'm actually a real estate agent, so I also sell houses. So if you're looking to buy a house in the Twin Cities area, you can also hit me up and I can teach you on what kind of house that you're looking for, right, in this economy, what kind of things to be aware of, what kind of things you want to know, how do you pay for a house, finances, what kind of struggles that are holding you back from buying a home. So if you're looking to buy a house, rent a house, if you're looking to sell your own property, buy a business, I'm here to help you.
Wow, I'll be contacting you in a few years.
All right.
Is there anything that you want to share or advice that you would like to give to our audience?
If you want to be a teacher, please go be a teacher. Hit me up if you want advice. And if you are a parent, please, please, please check in with your child, making sure that you know what's going on in their life at school. Ask them how they're doing, because there's a lot that's going on in school, right? From safety to maybe just like they're missing things in school, or there's something's wrong and they're not expressing it. Please check in with your child, because school is very important, and whatever your child wants to do when they grow up, whether if it's school or not, they still need education, and education is very important. So please check in with your child. So young students out there, keep getting your education, right? No matter what you want to do, when you get older, don't miss this opportunity to learn. I was once a student, right? I was once in school, and it was very hard for me too, right? And I had to push through to become what I wanted to be today. And there's so much more for me out there, and there's gonna be so much more for you. So please finish school, right? Ask for help, find a mentor, maybe someone in maybe your respective field that you want to enter to. Ask them for more advice. How did you get to where you get to? Where's your struggles, right? Because there's always people that want to help you be successful. So don't hesitate to reach out for help.
Thank you, Naima, for sharing your insight and experience with us today on Youth Discussion.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
I hope you learned something new from today's discussion. And if you have any question, please reach out to Naima. And I look forward to connecting with you soon.